promise you guys, in my top 5, top 10 dream list of cars, I will personally own a Mercedes-Benz CLK DTM Cabriolet. This is such a unique car, and really excited to give you guys an in-depth look at this car today. A driving impression, sort of all of the nuances of what make this car one of the coolest supercars of our time. And what a beautiful day in Miami to be enjoying this car. Now, we have owned, I would say, probably 9 or 10 Mercedes CLK DTMs. Now, do not get this car confused with an average CLK or even the CLK 63 Black Series, which is a car I love. But the biggest difference is a lot, but the biggest difference is the CLK DTM was never actually sold or available as a legal car in the US. So we're lucky enough that over time collectors have brought in what I believe are probably 20, 25 cars under the show and display law. So we are driving today the Cabriolet version. Now, the DTM was first introduced as a way to celebrate the incredible history and winning championship of Mercedes-Benz and the CLK DTM in the DTM championship. So you've got Audi, BMW, Mercedes-Benz all fighting for the DTM championship. And Mercedes during this era was invincible. This car was produced to celebrate the championship. And wow, what a car. Now, we've had this incredible opportunity with Curated to work with the geniuses from HWA. And HWA is essentially Mercedes' racing division for many, many years. It stands for Hans Werner Aufrecht, who was the founder of AMG. And when AMG merged with Mercedes-Benz between 1991 and 1992, then eventually a full sale in the mid-90s, Hans Werner Aufrecht started HWA for his initials, and then would go on to develop all of their DTM cars, the CLK GTR, and then this car. So this is not built by AMG. This is not a standard CLK, and you hear just how this car screams upon acceleration. And that's what I love about this car, is the way it puts down power. It is incredibly fast. And I've asked the experts at AMG and HWA many times, how do you get this car in 2005, 2006 to put down so much power so perfectly? You know, the stats on this car are 0 to 60, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in about 3.9 seconds. Trust me, it feels faster than that. The way this car hooks and just sucks you onto the road is phenomenal. And the gearbox, everything, we'll get into that. So HWA produced this car, and it was first launched as a coupe model, one of 100 for the world. And it's so cool because if you look at the original owners of the coupe, it's all Formula One drivers. Really important people own these cars. And then they would later, in 2005, 2006, announce the production of the convertible, the Cabriolet variant, which has a ton of different features, and that's one of the things that we'll talk about today, about the cab version. Only 80 examples of the Cabriolet for the world. Now, the most obvious feature of the Cabriolet version is obviously the roof comes off, and you actually have 2 additional seats, and that's what I love about the cab. You know, how many cars exist in the world today that are a race car for the road, that exist as a convertible and a 4-seat convertible? This may be the ultimate family car if you're a complete speed freak, and that's what I love about this car. You could, in my eyes, daily drive this car and enjoy this car. Take it to the track, throw your kids in the back, throw your golf clubs in the back, and this is a perfect vehicle that will also probably never depreciate. Now, there are a lot of nuances about this car that do make it not so practical. I would say the first is there is no phone charger. There's no outlet. There's a lot of things about this car that are lightweight. that were made for weight savings. I don't know if that's one of them. The interior is completely stripped down. There are not that many similarities between this and a standard CLK. You have your AC vents that would have been on a standard CLK, your glove box. I think this would have actually been a cup holder, which now is just this very odd little compartment here that does nothing. There is no cup holder in this car, so you're gonna juggle if you have a coffee or anything like that. And I would tell you, even if you did have a cup holder, your drink is going to be absolutely everywhere because the suspension of this car is so stiff. You feel every bump, every little sort of nook and cranny of the road, and that's what's so special about it. The way it handles, it feels like a go-kart. Again, one of the features that I love about this car, and really nothing else, with the exception of the light switches here, and the turn signal is from a CLK. You've got your dome light here is from a CLK, headlights, maybe the mirrors, tail lights, I know. Besides that, there's nothing standard of this car. Full carbon door panels, ultra lightweight. You've got a little grab handle here, your mirror switches here. You do have an audio system, which I'm actually shocked this was even installed in this car. There was actually two options. You can get a navigation or just a standard radio. This is the optional navigation. Your AC switches are here. You see all the bare matte carbon fiber, which is so cool. Your shift is here. And this is sort of funny, and I don't know if they did this for a reason. You have P for park, reverse is spelt out, neutral is spelt out, and then you have D for drive. This badge is actually wrong. I think they just built a bunch of coupe badges, installed them on all the cabriolets, 1 out of 100. That is not true. There was only 80 cabs. Show you quickly what that 580 horsepower is like. And that is the big difference between this and the CLK 63 Black Series. We're talking almost 100 pounds-feet of torque more, and then about 80 more horsepower than the CLK 63 Black Series. And wow, this car is blindingly fast. And the brakes are incredible, and the way that this thing puts down power. Traction control kicks in, and that is another very cool feature of this car. I will say, I could see the guys at HWA giggling with all of these switches and buttons to basically make this car look like a race car. Right here you have your gear switch from sport to manual. You can go to manual and shift with the paddles here. You have your ESP, your traction control, and then this is your stability control. And then here, I'm gonna actually make sure these are back on before I do something stupid. There we go. And then here you have your soft top switch, which we might have to use. You see the gearbox is fluid, perfect. There's no bangs or snaps. And that's what I love about this car. You could just, go grocery shopping, shift it down into first, take off, and you feel like you are driving a track car. This does not feel like a road car at all. And the sounds that the supercharger makes and the sound from this engine, it is so cool. Obviously your gauge cluster here is a unique gauge cluster AMG badging, and then the coolest part is this steering wheel, which is almost directly out of a DTM car. I'm sure the guys at HWA were laughing when they designed this wheel, because instead of like your calling for pit stop button or anything like that, you've got your volume controls here with these beautiful buttons that are directly out of the DTM car. This unique shaped steering wheel. You've got your paddles here on the steering wheel. And then this is your simple menu controls like you would have on any Mercedes, but the buttons are just so cool. I wish all manufacturers, when they were building their supercars, made buttons like that, because these are amazing. Same with these buttons here. The other interesting fact between a coupe and a roadster is the roadster has basically your speed controls here if you wanted to go on a long trip, where in the coupe is actually under this panel here, and you can see where they would have actually originally had those controls. Again, you can see it's a very much a hand-built car. And then the coolest feature to me are the bucket seats that were available in both the coupe and Cabriolet. The coupe has a different race seat, no adjustments on the coupe. The Roadster has a little knob here. You can see I can recline a little. I can then put the seat completely up so a rear seat passenger can get in. But this is a bucket. The coupe has racing harnesses, no rear seat. The entire rear of the coupe is carbon. This is mostly carbon with some very cool padding on the seats, and that's what I love about this car. Those rear seats may be the coolest rear seats that I've ever seen in any car. You can tell it's something unique and just so cool. Now, all of the CLK DTMs came with the standard carbon fiber rear wing, with the standard carbon fiber fenders and body kit. The one nuance of the CLK that I think does bother me is the fake fender vents. Obviously, the goal was to make the car look identical or very similar to their DTM racing cars of this period. But I think they could have done something with those fender vents. That being said, I'm not going to complain because this is probably one of my top 5 favorite cars of all time. And this one day will be my daily driver. I don't care if it takes me 20 years, 5 years. That's how much I love this car, especially if you live in Miami. Put the top down, go for a cruise. You could go to the racetrack and have some fun as well. One of the reasons why this car hooks so well are these massive rear tires affixed to this car. These wheels are the only time these actual wheels were used on any Mercedes. They're actually built by OZ. It's a famous wheel design. It was a pretty well-known wheel design. I've actually seen Roof use these wheels on a few other unique special built cars, but these wheels were installed both on the coupe and cab. And you know, from the exterior, you've got the rear bumper and the front bumper and the exhaust. So it's just so cool. And everything is carbon. I think the only thing that is not carbon is the rear trunk. I actually I've heard of a story of a CLK DTM Cabriolet that the owner was looking for a front hood. But so many parts on this car, even service parts, are unique to each HWA. So they actually have HWA part numbers. We could actually probably take this car apart and find some of those. And they're just very, very rare. So that is the one downside of this car. Yes, you could take it to Mercedes-Benz to have to do the service, but some of the parts are actually hard to find, unfortunately, if you damage something. I don't think you'll find these seats again. Apparently, the carbon fiber front hood is impossible to find. And the front bumper, which I believe is carbon Kevlar or carbon of some sort, is also very, very difficult to find. I don't think any manufacturer, especially Mercedes, will ever make a car like this again today. This is bare bones. This is raw. This is radical. And I just don't see, you know, when you think of the numbers, I don't see this project as being profitable when you're talking about so few cars built. And I will say, I believe this car is the end of an era. If I had to build the perfect dream car collection, I would tell you guys, definitely a Diablo SE30 or GT, Miura SV, F50, and these are all cars to drive. F50, Carrera GT, and the CLK DTM is in that list. There's obviously some more and other cars I love, but that CLK DTM is a must. Because it just does everything right. These cars over the last few years, when we first started Curated, I remember there was a famous transaction at Gooding & Co. auction for $450,000 of a silver coupe. I think we ended up owning that car a few years later. We had sold a black coupe, we had sold a silver coupe when we first opened. And then recently in Europe, these cars have started to trade in higher mileage cars anywhere between 500 and 600,000 euros today. It's around $700,000. And I would say today in the US, these cars are probably $650,000 to $850,000, depending upon mileage and spec and overall condition and history. That is what is magical about this car. It just is so fast. And it handles well. I mean, that is one of my complaints sometimes of some of these older Mercedes. They don't handle well or they don't have grip. This car has all of the handling and all of the grip you could ever want. And just a blast. It puts a smile on your face, goosebumps. And isn't that the point of this? Something you can use, something you can have fun with, that really just sort of, you know, blows your mind at any point you're driving it, and then obviously you can go about your daily activities. But I believe this is the end of an era. You know, when you think about these cars and you think of the price point of cars today, you know, a Ferrari 296 GTS or GTB with options is $500,000 or $600,000. I think the new Turbo S is now almost well over $300,000 with options. So you think of the rarity of this, and I see a lot of value in these cars. And again, because it is made by HWA, and you know, if you're following HWA, they're building an incredible project. We've talked to you guys about this before, but if you're really following HWA and the historic cars, you know, the prices of SL65 Black Series have done incredibly well, and then the prices of CLK GTRs have gone completely insane. There have been numerous transactions now for roadsters that are well over 17, 18, 19 million dollars. Yes, I said that. And CLK GTR coupes today are selling anywhere between 10 and 15 million dollars, depending upon mileage and history and color. So these cars are being cherished, they're being used. I recently heard a major collector that has everything, a young guy, I think everything from a LaFerrari to Bugatti Veyrons to a CLK GTR, say that of all the cars he has ever owned, this is the one that checks every box. It does everything, and he'll never sell his. He could own it for the rest of his life. So a lot of guys feel the same way I do. This is a dream for me, and so honored to share this with you guys. And just being in this driver's seat is a blast. So yeah, I think this is a must if you're building a supercar collection. Would love your guys' thoughts, would love your guys' inputs. Tell me what you think about this CLK DTM.